Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. This is your NBA Finals, Miami Heat versus Denver Nuggets, Game 2 Best Bets episode. Joining me to talk about it first is Jay Money. You can find him on Twitter at JMoneyIsMoney and on YouTube. Jay, give me your best bet for Game 2 between the Nuggets and the Heat.
Yeah, I was bouncing around from taking the points with the Heat team total over, but I will rock with the over. I think we see a little bit more free throws, a little bit more pace, and I expect the Heat not to take so many long jump shots as well. So I do like the over 214 and a half. So I think there's a lot of path to success for that play.
Yeah, I like this play as well. I bounced around on the total because it did move down so much from game 1 to get to game 2, but that was purely like just a bookmaker adjustment and not a line move, right? It didn't open back up close to the original. It just like shifted down. So they're clearly anticipating money on the under. I think that's kind of interesting because it's like, look, the Nuggets took a ton of twos because they were able to. The Heat shot a lot of threes, which will go in more often than they did in game 1. Pace was a really big thing in this. It was only 91. Both teams did a really good job in transition, and both teams did a really good job in turnovers. It's not that necessarily like those two teams know that transition is really important, and those two teams know that turnovers are really important. It's that one team or the other is probably going to make a mistake in game 2. Like there's going to either be more turnovers for one team or the other. That's going to lead to more transition opportunities for them to actually get to the rim. And then the other thing here is I think like the Heat called it out. Like Jimmy Butler, I was in the presser last night, and Jimmy Butler was talking about how, look, we got to get to the rim more. Like we got to get layups and we got to get free throws. Even though it's like, well, they need threes to keep up with this. I think Jimmy will make a concerted effort to attack a lot more at the rim. He was really passive last night for whatever reason. And when he draws free throws, that's going to push that total up. He's going to draw fouls, and that's going to get them in the bonus. So I'm with you on this. Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways that this gets there.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I kind of said Jimmy Butler kind of took a game off. We know that they came off game 7, but I mean he was super passive. He wasn't even trying to go to the rim, which you never see from Jimmy Butler because he's gonna bait some fouls. Like that's just what he does. So it's kind of crazy. Maybe there was the fatigue setting in, maybe there was them getting used to the altitude. But I always say game 2, and especially with 2 days in between the games as well, there's more time to practice, more time to prepare. Obviously, the Nuggets went out there and kind of tipped their, I mean, they not really tipped their hand, they just used their matchup advantages, but now hey, you can't be putting Gabe Vincent down there anywhere close to the block or they're going to bully him. Kyle Lowry, I mean, even Strus as well. So now they kind of know what to avoid. They know, and if I'm the Miami Heat, you're going to have to push the pace a little bit more. I know that they like to be methodical. I know the Nuggets aren't the best defense, but it's really like if you get them in transition, right? Jokic is not the fastest guy run up and down the floor, and he's not necessarily the best rim protector as well. So you have to put pressure on the Nuggets defense at the rim. Jimmy Butler knows it. There's no way that they only shot two free throws in that game to 20 as well. So I'm seeing more drives to the baskets, like you said, more fouls. If you get them in the penalty, then that's going to stop the clock. That's going to lengthen the game even more. So I definitely think the Heat can get over 100 and 105 points in this one. And we saw it as well, Matt. The Nuggets just kind of went through a dry spell where they didn't even score for like 3 or 4 minutes, which I feel like they could have put up 125 points if they really didn't let their foot off the gas. That's the only thing that really worries me about the Nuggets. They don't really necessarily have that killer instinct to like, hey, let's go blow you out by 20 to 30 points. I think that should have happened in game 1. They should have went over their team total, Matt, as well. They kind of were just messing around, man, but they could have put up 120 points easily, in my opinion. Kind of just started messing around, got too comfortable after halftime, after third quarter as well. Like, how do you let them open up the fourth quarter and 11-0 run? That should never happen there. I don't think they scored for the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. So I expect the Nuggets to put their foot on the gas a little bit more, score more points, and I definitely expect the Heat. I mean, Matt, they missed a ton of wide open threes, but I was telling people that's the altitude. You have to get used to that, man. Like, you're shooting, it's not just the breathing, it's your shooting in your legs as well. So I expect both teams to shoot better, maybe a tad bit more pace, tad bit more free throws, and we get over the total here.
All right, join me now, NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson. Going to get you some more best bets. Then Brandon and I are going to talk a little bit more about the series. We'll get you some series best bets and a little bit more of a deep dive on the NBA Finals. Brandon, let's start with our best bets going into game 2. I'll give mine here. But first, let's hear yours. What are your best bets for game 2 Heat Nuggets?
Yeah, I like the Nuggets. I'm going to isolate just to the first quarter. We'll talk about why. So I'll take the Nuggets first quarter spread. It's -2.5. And then a couple of props here. I talked about these in my post game 1 write up. Max Strus, my man, hopefully does not go 0 of 9 again. I'll take his over on the threes, over 1.5, just -160. And then Michael Porter Jr. Got a couple of ways I want to talk through on him, but I think I'm going to go with Michael Porter Jr. double plus 225.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I've got 2. I'm taking the over. J Money, who you heard from earlier, is on that as well. I'm also on the over 214. I will go ahead and warn you that I'm going to play the first half under, and it seems like it's a really narrow path. I am betting more on the combined total for 214 than I am on the first half under. So I'm going to do 2 units on the total over, 1 on the first half under is how I'm going to play this. The trend has been really strong for the first half unders. I'm going to go ahead and play that. My other best bet is you can find this in the market at FanDuel. The number for it is currently, looking it up right now to make sure I got the right number for FanDuel. Miami Heat money line first half plus 220. That's the best number you can get in the market. Heat money line. So you've got Nuggets first quarter -2.5. I've got Heat first quarter. You've got money line -2.5. I've got first half money line Heat plus 220. I'm on that for a solid 2.5 units in this one. I like that play.
Wow, we're disagreeing. Did you know that sometimes we disagree on things? That happens. Someone on Twitter called us out for occasionally disagreeing. It's happening again. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, no, I understand like the point being presented based off of the research. It's kind of interesting. But in general, yeah, you and I do not agree often, and that's what makes the show good. It would be very boring. There are shows that are just like, yeah, no, I like that pick. And if it's that all the time, I get bored with it. All right, let's go into yours. Let's deal with this, the first quarter stuff first. Let's do the props last. Let's do first quarter, first half, and then full game total, and then we'll hit the props. And I've got some prop questions, I think, for you. All right, start me off with why you want the Nuggets -2.5 first quarter.
So really, I like the first half. I just narrowed to the first quarter. So I'll just comfortably go head to head to you on first half. I'm gonna guess, and we'll get into your take on it. I'm gonna guess that this is a feeling, this is kind of a desperation spot play of like, okay, Miami cannot afford to go down 2-0. They've got the adjustments that we'll talk through. I think all of that is coming. I just don't think it's coming right away. I think right away, we're going to see a lot of what we saw in game 1, which what I saw in game 1 was a bigger emphasis on bigger. Holy cow, did that stand out. Just watching live, man, everyone is like a half a foot taller, just putting dudes in the basket. Bigger, better, stronger, more rested, healthier. The Nuggets are just better. That's it. And in the first quarter, we're going to get the version of the game that we expect to get as much as we're going to. Jokic plays the whole quarter. Bam doesn't. Bam sits the last couple of minutes usually. So even if we're kind of close on this bet, or even if the Nuggets are trailing by a bucket or two, we might suddenly get down to like 2 minutes left in the quarter. And then Jamal probably goes out, but Bam goes out and we get Zeller or maybe Kevin Love or something. We'll get there. But I like our chances of kind of pulling this back from the brink if we needed to, even if Miami got the hot start. I just think Denver comes out and is the better team. And I'm specifically not playing the full game here. I don't mind it. I expect the full game cover to happen, but I'm not playing it because I'm giving Miami credit. I'm giving Miami credit of adjustments and pushing and playing for their season later in the game. I'm giving them credit for that in the second half. I'm even giving them a little credit in the first half, in that if I like the first half, which was my initial play, why bother counting the second quarter when Nikola is sitting over on the bench? No, thank you. I'll just take my first quarter and get out of here, sir. Thank you very much. So that's how I got there. First quarter play. I think that it's Denver just is the better team early. And then Miami says, oh gosh, this again. Okay. The zone, the 1-4, the 3-2, like Kevin Love, all the adjustments. Here's all the stuff. We got to do it all now. But I think it takes at least a little bit to get there. And by then, I like Denver to take the lead.
Okay. All right. I disagree clearly. This is partially based off of the pattern I've seen from Denver in these playoffs, which is they come out and that first game at home of whatever series it is, they're amped. They play with a lot of intensity. And honestly, this is like a lot of the story of game one, in my opinion, is that Denver didn't even execute that well. They just play with more force and were better in game one. And that's how they built that big lead. And then they took their foot off the pedal. Like I asked a lot of folks last night that know the team well. I was like, how much of the fourth quarter was heat disruption and how much of it was the Nuggets took their foot off the pedal? And everyone that consistently covers Denver is like, how many times have we seen this where they're in the playoffs, where they're up huge and they just let their foot off the pedal? And then like the biggest problem I think with Denver is that there's two things. One, they don't necessarily look to blow teams out. Like that's not something. They are very Spursian in this regard. They are not the Warriors, but the Warriors were like, it's 20. Can we make it 40? Can we make it 50? Like I've seen Kurt play those guys in the third quarter up 30 before. And I'm like, what are you doing, Steve? It's over. Like, for the love of God, they're already dead, Steve. The Nuggets are not built that way. And that's not even Malone would do that. Malone would absolutely do that if he could, but the Nuggets don't do that. They let off once they're up plus 15, they start to back off just a little bit to conserve energy. And I saw a lot of that in the fourth quarter. Okay, so I've seen in game twos, they come out a little flat. The team hits them at half of their game twos this postseason. Plus 15 versus the Wolves, -2 versus the Suns, -5 versus the Lakers. They have trailed at half in 2 of the 3, and both since the first round in game twos. Now, this is a 3-game sample. I get it. But this is also just like, I feel like I know the Nuggets and how they approach these games. The other thing is, I disagree with you. I do think Spo's like talking to people that are in the proximity of the Heat that know that team well. There were 2 people I talked to that were like, they know that they're at a disadvantage in this series. Like, they will never admit that. But they know, like, from a top level perspective, they know that they are behind the 8 ball here. And so I think that they have to. And Spo already threw out the 1-2-2 and Highsmith in the fourth quarter, which, by the way, I commented on this in my article. Spo's a genius. I don't know why he did that. You got to save you cannot show them anything on tape for them to look at going forward. They are too smart. Like, they're longer, they're more talented. I am telling you, as someone that covers the team, all of those guys have high basketball IQ, and that coaching staff drills details. They are not a coaching staff that's like, yeah, no, we're gonna go in, we'll do film, and then we'll go play some golf. No. That is, let's get in the lab for 5 hours, and then we'll do a film session with the guys. Like, so they are gonna have a game.
I want to ask a question on that real quick, because I saw you say that, and that was my initial thought as well. Is what are you doing? You're emptying the tank of all these things. You've shown all your cards. Miami gets to see all that film too. Is it possible that Spoelstra is saying, you know what, Nikola Jokic is a basketball savant. He's going to figure this stuff out in real time anyway. Let me see the film. Let me try a few different things and see what might work, and let me adjust to the film I get to see and be ready for honing in on the things that work best of my options.
Yeah, I just think that the problem is that all of these, like this is one of the things that annoys me about so much of the conversations about coaching. These tricks, if you can beat them, once you figure out the triggers, it's done. Now, the Celtics don't have the personnel to do it. Like, they don't know how to do it. Like, they just don't know how. Like, they're not going to learn. I don't know why, but they're not going to learn how to beat that zone. Like, we have enough evidence over 3 years of the Celtics. They don't know how to beat it. The Nuggets do. And so it's like, even if you improve your execution, like, there were plays where Jokic got the ball in the middle, and then, like, both teams kind of screwed up where Bam gave him too much space, or Jimmy gave Murray too much space. And then Jokic and Murray both backed away from them, like taking fadeaways instead of leaners. Like, there's all these like little things that they can adjust. So I've talked all about all these things. So why am I on Heat? I think they throw the kitchen sink at him. I definitely think that the Heat come out with a lot more intensity. I just think that they're going to bring a high level of intensity, and this stuff does matter. Like, that's a cliche point. I'm telling you, when you get to this level of competition and you have teams that are this good, and even though like we think Denver is way better, and I still do, and I think they're going to win the series, like Miami's execution level, when they're locked in and at a high level, it still makes them really good. It makes up for a lot of their talent disparity. So they're going to come out and play with more physicality. I do not trust Denver to come out with like a let's kill them here. I think Denver probably is down. I actually kind of think Denver wins this game. I don't think they're losing. I think they won both of the games in which they trailed at half. But first half, here's the other one. I got some trends for you. Okay. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
The Heat, since 2000, in the last two postseasons, okay, after a loss, have gone 10-4 straight up, and after a loss, they are 11-3 first half money line. On the road after a loss, 4-2. They have been really good in these margins of being able to hit this. 11-3 after a loss in the first half. Like, they just have a habit of finding themselves there. I think one of the things is like over the course of the 48, I think they're going to run into the same problems that you talked about, which is Denver is better. Like, what you and I are disagreeing on is the order in which these things occur.
Yeah, it's one. That's what I was going to say. So, yeah, I think we're making the same cap. I think we're seeing the same Denver takes their foot off the gas pedal thing. We saw it in fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. You've seen it in a lot of games live covering the team over the years. We've talked about it. That's why I'm seeing the same thing as well. You're saying Denver gets up, takes their foot off the gas pedal. I see that happening in the series. So Miami comes out game 2 and gets the first half. I'm saying I think Denver comes out, gets the lead early, and then the foot off the gas pedal a little bit as Miami adjusts. Like, I think you're playing it from a series angle, and I'm playing it just from a game 2 angle. Net rating by first quarter. This was a part of it. This was a spot I wanted before the series. Yeah. Denver for the first quarter is plus 13.3 net rating for the playoffs, which is a ridiculous number. Miami is minus 1.3, and it's minus 7.5 on the road. So it's just a spot that's not going to be great for Miami based on the trends. And barring an injury or foul trouble or something, even then, no fouls, I don't think is going to take him out. I like about this bet more than anything else, I'm basically betting a game that ends at the end of the first quarter that I know Nikola Jokic, the best player in the universe, is playing all 48 minutes of my 12 minutes, right? Like, I get Nikola Jokic for all of my bet. So I think that's why I don't mind isolating here. Normally, you know me, I like the bigger sample, but to me, I'm admitting the same thing you are, which is that I think Miami has a push here. And even those first halves you talked about in game 2, I saw you talking about that on Twitter, and it made me cautious on my bet. So I looked into it. Most of those games, well, again, there's only 3. The runs came where it got closer in the second quarter. And I'm going to guess, without going back to look too close, probably in the non-Jokic minutes, where, like, I was surprised in game 1, Jokic, like, hung out on the bench for, like, 15 minutes of real time in the second quarter. They were just like, 29-20, end of the first quarter. We're good. We're fine. And honestly, and they were fine. So maybe that's when it happens. Again, that's why I want just the first quarter. I know Jokic should be out there then. So I think we're on a similar page. It's just a matter of when that Miami push comes. Relatedly, the angle that I want to watch, this is a live angle for you. And you know I'm not much of a live bettor. If the game is close, late, going into the fourth quarter, or maybe going toward clutch time, if it's close, or if Miami is ahead by a little bit, I want to be ready to fire on Denver. I absolutely think the Nuggets win this game. In those game 2s, the games where Denver kind of let the teams hang around, fourth quarter, plus 11, plus 13, plus 8. They decisively won those fourth quarters in games where they knew we go up 2-0 at home with Jokic, this series is probably a wrap. And I think this is the spot Michael Malone has kind of showed his cards in a spot where he knows, get this one, and we are close to clinching. And I think you go up 2-0 against a tired 8 seed. No LeBron this time.
Yeah.
I think if you go up 2-0, you got to think you got the trophy. So I want to be willing to bet Denver live if it is close, if Miami's made their push. Even though the Heat have been so good late in games, so is Denver. I'll take the Nuggets there.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think let's do the total, and then I'll get into like some full game thoughts because we can talk about the series.
Okay.
We can hit your props too. Total. Jay gave the cap on this, and I think he's on point with it. I'll go ahead and like just give mine real quick. 91 possessions in that game one. That is glacial. Like that is so slow. And a lot of that, I want to give a lot of credit to both teams' transition defense. Both teams were just like, no, which is like such a big emphasis because these are the number 1 and number 2 transition offenses in the playoffs. Miami's actually number 1. Denver was number 1 in the regular season. So like you can't let them get out in transition. Duncan Robinson was phenomenal last night in transition defense. Couldn't hit a 3 to save a soul, 1 of 5. But like his transition defense, he did such a good job against Bruce Brown, who put so much pressure at the rim off of misses. That's their entire second unit offense. And Duncan Robinson did an excellent job of closing those off. Now I think Denver probably makes some adjustments in terms of how they run transition. And that's going to create probably some more problems. The other thing is that when we looked at this, this like really stood out to me because it's such a big factor in the series. If Miami's going to win this series, a game, etc., they got to force turnovers. Like it's going to have to be the lifeblood for them. Miami had a 92nd percentile turnover rate. They turned it over just 8.8% of the time in this game. Denver only turned it over 11% of the time. That's 78th percentile full season via cleaning the glass. We've got a 92nd and a 78th percentile turnover game. I'm not saying in game 2 that both teams are going to get sloppy. Maybe one of them is still really good. Variance says we're going to see a couple more random turnovers. I mean, to be quite honest, some of Denver's were pretty weird, right? Like that fourth quarter one where Jamal just lets Highsmith strip him and get the putback.
First play of the quarter.
First play of the quarter where I was like, oh, here we go. But like the turnover rate is likely to increase, which is going to increase your pace, which is going to increase your transition points, which is going to get there. The Heat are going to force more free throws. Like one, how can I put this? I don't think that there will be an adjustment game over game from the officials because I genuinely do not believe that that's how this goes. Like the NBA is not going to dictate to them. It's bad optics of them having 2 free throws. It's just a different crew. It's a different crew every game. So like game 2 is going to be called entirely differently. And I will tell you that being in Jimmy Butler's presser last night, that dude's going to get to the rim. I feel confident in that. Like Jimmy Butler is going to get to the rim. By the way, I have another best bet that I forgot, which is Jimmy Butler over 25.5. He's like, Jimmy's coming. Jimmy might be hurt. 25.5 is that's down 2 points from his game 1. Now we're getting into where I'm like, okay, guys, like this is still Jimmy Butler. I understand how bad he was. I actually didn't think that he looked hurt, Brandon. I just think he looked passive. Anyway, I like the over in this game. I think this is going to be an overplay. You don't play a lot of totals, but you have any thoughts on that?
Well, did you talk about the second or here's my question. I would lean under just because I was leaning under on the series coming in, but I don't do a lot of totals. I don't have a good play here. So I'm going to cede to you on your plays through logically your decision to play both items, the first half under and the second half, or first half under and the full game over. Have you given the cap on first half under? Did I miss that?
So that one, I'm going to be totally honest with you.
Just the trend, right?
Just the trend. I know you.
Because it's strong. It's strong. The numbers are there, and it's a real sample. So what's the trend right now?
Via Evan Abrams, who is our director of research and provides so much good stuff. Over the past 2 seasons, the first half under is 107, 69, and 3. It is ridiculous. Like I will say this. It's weird that I'm taking it over here because in general, I like Nuggets home unders. I've played them a lot this season because Denver's defense is way better at home. They just they're more comfortable there. They're able to communicate better. Like they play better at home. So their defense cranks up. However, I think first half, I think a lot of this is going to be, I honestly think a lot of this is on the cap of Denver. Like I thought about a Denver team total first half under. But then I was like, you're getting too specific. Just play the first half under. But I think Denver's offense honestly struggles a little bit more in the first half of game one. And then everyone's like, oh, everyone thought it was over. How about now? And then Denver wakes up and does their thing. But that's kind of the cap I have on this, is that I do think Miami's defense causes more turnovers, which lowers Denver's efficiency. I do think that even with all of this, I think that the first half under, because of how it tends to be juiced, I want to go ahead and play the first half under still.
Okay, so again, I'm gonna not comment on first half under, full game over. I'm gonna cede that those are the way this goes because I don't have a strong thought on it. I think that you're playing it wrong. I think that let me give you two options of a way you could play it in a way that's more advantageous to you, rather than playing them both this way right now. Number one, you bet the first half under. Am I right that you cannot bet a second half over under isolated right now going into the game? I don't think that's posted anywhere.
I believe we actually do have that at some books. There are second half unders.
Okay, so either you should bet just the first half under and just the second half over, isolated from each other, because you're effectively betting a second half alternate over by playing the full game, assuming that the under happens, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So either play a second half over separate, because you're getting a way better line than you are effectively doing by doing a whole game plus a first half under. Like, I mean, the counter argument to what I'm saying is, yeah, but I could win one and not lose both. Okay, but win one and not lose both, you've lost money still, right? You've still come out behind. So I guess I'm come out slightly behind, but I think either you do first half under, second half over, or first half under, and then halftime live, you bet the over, and maybe there you play an alternate because you're going to get a much better number than what's there now. Or, again, I'm not sure if a book allows this, first half under, full game over together. Play them together, because the same game parlay is going to give you credit for the logical inconsistency of the bet happening right now, and is going to give you better juice combining those, because it's gonna know when you put them together that it needs to juice the price on it. So I think you need to account for, like, you acknowledge the logic is it's a tight path here. That's fine. It can still happen that way. I think you just need to allow yourself to bet it in a way that pays out accordingly.
I hear you. Let me think on it. I'll see what I wind up putting in the app. I still kind of lean towards the original play. I am going to play more towards the over than the first half under. It is at both times to mitigate the damage if I lose the combined over. I don't see a scenario. I'll say this. I don't see a scenario. I see a very low percentage outcome of it being a first half over, full game under. It's possible.
Yeah.
But like game script doesn't go that way.
And you did say too, I believe, a couple units on the full game, 1 unit on the first half. So that also negates my you're just going to come out even and slightly lose, because you're acknowledging which one you like better. So that's maybe just the way to do it as well.
Let's do props. I'll do Jimmy first here just to kind of knock this out. Being in the presser and look, this is, you could say what does being 5 minutes in a room with a guy really matter, especially when he's facing a bunch of cameras. Just the way that he talked about it, because sometimes guys are very defiant where they're just like, nope, I think I played right. I just shots didn't fall, we'll be. And Jimmy was like, we took a lot of jumpers. Jimmy Butler was like, we took a lot of jumpers. He's like, we can make those, but we took a lot of jumpers. It was a process answer from Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was basically like, it doesn't matter if we can hit those. I have to put more aggression on the rim. I got to put more pressure on them. He's like, we got to get more layups and more free throws. And he's right, because a lot of this is, and we'll talk about this when we get into kind of the series. Bam had 26 on 25 shots. Bam was great last night. I thought Bam battled. He played Jokic as well as you can in terms of fronting and trying to deny him and doing all this stuff. He was the second unit hub offensively. He made his shots. He was so good, and none of it felt impactful. He was a -6. None of it felt, the Nuggets are just like, cool, Bam, good job. And Butler's smart enough to know that. And Butler honestly was baffling to me in his approach. He was just like, I got Jamal Murray on me. I'm going to take 2 dribbles and then flip it to the outside. I was like, what are you doing? And he's not comfortable against their drop coverage, but what he'll do more is instead of accepting the pull-up jumper, he'll lean more into, I'm just going to have to score through them. And it did not look to me like he looked more spry to me, honestly, than he did at the end of the Celtics series. It may have been the altitude just draining his legs. That happens to a lot of folks. Like, it's hard up here. But in general, I think we'll see a more aggressive from Jimmy Butler. Like, I honestly think that even with free throws, this goes like just free throws alone, not that he's going to have 26 free throws, but free throws, it'll be like, well, yeah, he may not have had a great game, but he had 8 free throws and not got, he had 8 free throws and 18 points otherwise. And that's enough to get us to 26. To me, it's not a no-brainer. Nothing's a no-brainer. We always talk about that, but like, I love the Jimmy Butler over 25.5 here for game 2.
Yeah, I can't join you on this one. I actually have in my notes the Jimmy Butler under, and I'm not going to play it. I decided against it, but I just don't see it from Butler right now. And I understand that the look in the eye thing, but Jimmy Butler came into the arena last night with a shirt saying 4 more, and that didn't happen last night either. So it's like Jimmy Butler believes everything Jimmy Butler believes, and that is what makes him great as a player. I just don't see it right now, and I don't think he's getting lift. He hit a lot of front rim on shots. That to me is the telltale sign of a dude that's just tired and not getting lift on shots. If anything, I see an under 20.5 as a plus 265. That's what I was looking at as he's under that in 3 of the last 6 games. He's had 16 or less in 3 of the last 6. So to me, if I do just an alt and not the actual line, is me saying, okay, yeah, sure, he could go over this. I don't know. I'm feeling kind of 50-50 on the actual line. If he goes under, I think he goes way under. That was kind of the James Harden thing in that series too. Like if he can't get to 25 or 26, it's probably because he just didn't have it like he did in game 1 again. And I'll say this, I bet the under in game 1. I don't think I gave it out on the podcast, but I had it in my game 1 card on the article. He came out, he hit a shot right away. He hit a 3, 2 minutes into the game. And I was like, well, lost that one. Jimmy looks fine. He's going to be good. And then I don't know what happened after that. That was very weird. But he's averaging 20.8 points in losses for the postseason. So I think this, if you want to play a Butler under, I suggested this in the same game parlay in my article and didn't actually do it. I think you have to do it. If you want to play a Butler under, I think you have to play it with a Denver money line or something. Like if Butler's not scoring, especially if he doesn't even get to 20, then you have to bet Denver as part of that bet. Just to give yourself, they're not winning if he doesn't get to 20. So the foul thing, by the way, 2 free throws by Miami tied the fewest ever in any playoff game. No, not tied. It is the fewest ever. There was a 3, and that's the only game with less than 5 free throws in NBA history. 8 fouls that Denver had tied the record for fewest fouls by any team, and 2 of those were offensive fouls. So 6 defensive fouls. I personally didn't feel like, oh man, Denver's just getting a great whistle here. I just didn't feel like Miami earned the fouls. Like, I'm sure there were a few that could have gone the other way, but that's the settling for jumpers thing.
There's 2 things. Well, it's not just settling for jumpers. They got great clean looks on the shots they wanted. So it's like,
that's true.
Like fourth quarter, they were getting dunks with nobody around Bam. Like, they were getting cuts and stuff. Like, Denver's defense wasn't good in this game. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm as much as I'm playing a couple of angles towards Miami in game 2. Like, I feel more confident about the Nuggets minus 1.5 series spread line and minus 2.5 that I eventually bet. Like, I just feel better about it after because it's like everyone was like, well, Miami can shoot better. I was like, Denver can play better. Like, Denver's execute. This is what's crazy is like Denver won this game by double digits. I am telling you, as somebody that has covered this team for 11 years and all of the Jokic era, that was a B game. That's it. No better than a B. Not just shot variance from Michael Porter Jr. Execution wise, that was a B game from Denver. They got so much more in the tank.
That was my cap coming in the series. Is like I felt like Denver's floor was about Miami's ceiling, and this was not a Miami ceiling game. That's why Denver won comfortably. Yeah. But I think that's the problem here is Miami has to close that much of a gap, and to the Miami will shoot better crowd. Miami made 13 threes and shot 33%. During the whole season of 82 games of data, Miami shot 34% on threes and made 12 per game. Miami did not shoot horrendously in this game. Miami shot exactly what their season averages were in this game. We're just warped because they apparently shoot 94% in all the other games this postseason.
Well, and
this was not an outlier game for the Heat. This was a normal game for them.
Yeah, like I mean, here's a lot of it is like Gabe Vincent was 2 of 2 on contested looks and 5 of 12 on uncontested, which is 42%, almost all of those threes. Like if you take out Duncan Robinson, who Duncan's a good shooter, Duncan's a great shooter. You take out Duncan and Strus. Strus is 35% for his career, 37% this season. You take out those two guys. Like Strus is a good shooter. He had a bad night. You take out those two guys, Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Gabe Vincent, all of those guys, those 4 dudes, and Caleb Martin, those 5 dudes, 50%, all of them from 3 or better. So, like, this wasn't that the Heat didn't shoot well. Max Strus and Duncan Robinson didn't shoot well. The rest of the Heat, once again, shot above expectation. And so it's like, it just kind of evened out in the end.
Yeah. It worries me. It worries me that to the Miami will play better crowd again, Bam Adebayo had 26 and 13. Gabe Vincent hit 5 threes. Haywood Highsmith scored 18 points in 23 minutes off the bench. Those are black swan outlier events for the Miami Heat. 3 of them happened, and they were non-competitive from like the middle of the second quarter on the rest of the game. They never threatened to win the game. So
got to 9. Yeah. They got to 9 fourth quarter. There was like a moment where the crowd was getting a little antsy. I'll give them that.
Yeah. They cut it to 9 once for, I believe, 34 seconds was the length of it being within single digits. Like, again, you're still 9 away. You're like you commented at the time, you're 1 run away. No, you're 1 run away from getting tied, where you're still a heavy underdog because the Denver Nuggets are way better and at home and going to punch you back. Like, you're also at 9 points, 1 run away from it being 18 again, and it's over. Yeah. And that's kind of the way that it went. So we talked about Strus. Let me get into my Strus threes prop here. So I like Strus over 1.5 threes. I talked about this in my game 1 reaction. It's a numbers play. The dude went 0 for 9. If you are a 37% shooter, the odds of you going 0 for 9 in the game are 1.5%. Like that's the black swan outlier too, and just in the wrong direction. So this is how basketball goes. Variance happens. The odds of you hitting at least 3 in that spot is 71%. I'm only playing the over 1.5. The line dropped here because he was so bad. So I'm taking the juice. It's minus 160, but I only need 2. If he gets 9 shots up, the odds of a 37% shooter hitting 2 is 90%. So I will say this. I think I probably want this one at 2. He has had 3 or more threes this postseason. I believe 5 times, but all but one of those were against the Knicks. So let me ask you this. My only concern here, I initially was going to do like an escalator play, get the 2, go for 3, maybe a 4. 3 is plus 165 right now. He didn't play barely at all. He played the last like 20 seconds of the game. Highsmith took all his fourth quarter minutes. Strus went 0 for 9 in 21 minutes. Like, that is insane efficiency.
Yeah.
Is Strus a guy that can get played out of the rotation? And in particular, there's a chance Tyler Herro comes back for this game. Is Strus the guy that loses the minutes there? And do I at least need to wait to play this till we get Herro news?
Oh, yeah. I think you got 2 problems there. One, everybody kind of had their way with him defensively. Aaron Gordon got him on switches, punished him. Jamal
He
Murray
looks small.
Punished him. He's tiny. Like they're all tiny. Here's the problem. I genuinely think it's a coin flip between him and Caleb Martin, who stays in the rotation. Like, I don't know I think Highsmith plays more. I think Highsmith plays more. I think Kevin Love plays more. I still kind of think Tyler Herro plays game 3. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do too.
I just don't understand bringing him back for a road game. If they do, then it is a sign that they're like desperate to win this game.
That the only way it makes sense to me is I could see bringing him back for like 12 minutes off the bench. Like, just play him the non-Jokic minutes and kind of like shake off the rust. So at least you get a more ready Herro for game 3 when you need him.
And you do that and it goes badly. And it's not like Tyler's going to get deterred in terms of like his offensive ability, but like, it's a bad vibes thing for the team. If he comes
Sure.
back and plays 12 minutes and then it's just like, it's a bad headspace. And you can work out of that in the regular season because you got time, but you can't do it in the finals, especially. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe just play. I think just playing the over here on Strus on the baseline.
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm not playing the escalator.
Yeah.
Oh, and again, depending on your book, some books only have the 2.5 lines still. I don't think I want the 2.5. I'm playing the safe version here. This is just chalk up a win. He's had 2 or more threes, 13 out of 19 playoff games. So that's 68%. At minus 160, we need this to hit over 61% of the time. So I don't think I'll be too aggressive. I think I'll just try to get a win here.
I'm surprised that you're like a little bit dubious on the MPJ double-double, because this to me seems like an auto hammer.
Yeah, I like the MPJ double-double. It's more that I like a lot of MPJ props, and I try to figure out which one that I like.
Yeah.
He looks awesome. As somebody who's kind of scouted him since high school through college, and to hear like seeing the evolution of Michael Porter Jr. from a player that at one point was the number 1 pick. Like this was supposed to be a bona fide superstar player on an NBA team someday. Yeah. And you can see it. You can see the talent that's in there. But between the injuries he's had and the team that he's on, like, you're not going to be number 1 on this team, buddy. Sorry, it's not happening. And like the MPJ we've seen the last few weeks, last round and this round especially, to me is the evolution of a guy who says, okay, it doesn't matter what I could have been. What I can be right now on this team is an incredible third player X factor that does all the stuff, like the mismatch in every series. Michael Porter Jr. will be a mismatch against just about any team in some way or another, whether it's the threes or the size or the length, like whatever it is. So I like rebounds and threes here. Over 2.5 threes is minus 135. He shot 2 of 11. I commented in my article, like, again, he's probably not going to shoot 2 of 11 too often. 11 was his playoff high. I don't know that I love that number looking at it. He's only gone over 2.5 half of the playoff games, 8 out of 16. I think if you want to do threes, you play 4 or more, because when he hits, he really hits. He's only had 2 games in the playoffs where he hit 3, but not at least 4. So I backed off of that one. The rebounding, we've talked about this. Like, we played this individually. We talked this on our series pod. We have Michael Porter Jr. over 6.7 rebounds per game for the series. And he had, what did he have? 14 in game 1. He had all the rebounds. He had so many rebounds. He had 13, 2 on offense, 11 defensive. So he led all players in rebounding chances in this game. He tied with Bam. Jokic was 3rd in rebounding chances. That's weird. I don't think that's going to keep happening. But yeah, I like the rebounding. The line we're getting is 8.5. So at first I was like, we're moving the line up already. I see a little plus money on that, but it's plus 110 for 8.5. Double-double is literally just 1 more rebound. He's not going to score single-digit points. So I'm already getting the 10 points. I need 9 rebounds anyway. Why not just go to the double-double at plus 225? Like, I'm getting more than double my payout here. So double my payout, I guess. He's had a double-double in 6 of the last 9 games. He had 3 the entire regular season. If that's not a clear indication of him playing to his size and accepting the role and doing the things he can do, I don't know what else there is. He's 15 points, 9.4 rebounds during that stretch. So I like the double-double plus 225. I think that's probably my favorite prop this game.
This is like a narrative-y thing. They've really reinforced that too. Not just from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah.
Malone has constantly called him out for what he's done, like positively, for the things that he's contributed and how he's sacrificed. Like the players, there was a situation with a player that's no longer on the roster, and one of the things that got involved in those internal conversations with the Nuggets was the players in the locker room pointing at Michael Porter Jr. and being like, "Look what he's sacrificed. Like, look what he's given. That guy is an elite scorer, but look what he's doing because it helps us win." MPJ has said since day one he just wants to win. A lot of guys say that, but they only want to do it on their terms. That kid has done it. Like, he has sacrificed. He has done what they have asked of him. And also, they can put Kevin Love in there. I don't think it changes the equation. They can put Highsmith in there. He's still 6'5". There's no answer for his rebounding. Like
Yeah.
the only way that he doesn't go over on the rebounding prop and that they don't get, and again, 9 to 10, you're right on the double. I'll play that one too. Like I'm going to play the over right now at FanDuel. The 8.5 is plus 108. So I'm getting plus money on the over 8.5 when it's only bumped up 1 after he had 14 in game 1. I'll play the double as well. But like, I just, the only way that he doesn't get those rebounds is that he do not miss enough shots for him to get those rebounds.
Or the Nuggets, to be fair. That could take away a few offensive chances too. But yeah, I like that. If you are enjoying the MPJ story that we just talked about, the journey, there's an awesome article up right now. My friend Miran Fader at The Ringer did a deep dive on MPJ. So check that out for sure. I want to ask you about one more Nuggets prop that the numbers look good to me. I don't feel good about it instinctively, and I need your instincts on it because you know the team better than me.
Yeah.
So Jamal Murray tied with Jokic in potential assists on this game. That I didn't feel that. It felt like Jokic was racking things up early.
Yeah.
So they both had 17. 17 potential assists is a lot more than I would expected from Jamal Murray. So he had 10 assists in the game. I believe I saw he and Jokic first teammates in finals, only the second teammates ever in finals history. Magic and Worthy were the other two that had 25 points and 10 assists in the same game. So pretty good in your first finals game.
Not bad.
So he had 10 assists on 17 potentials. His over-under is either 5.5 or 6.5 at books. 6.5 to the over is plus 116. If I'm getting 17 potential assists and we say usually you're going to convert half of those, that's 8.5, 9 assists. Like, how are we sitting in a line of 5.5 or 6.5? And I didn't see it. I didn't feel it watching. I didn't normally on props. I make notes and I come away thinking like, ooh, like I noted Jamal Murray. He's getting a lot of rebounds. That size is looking good. Maybe that's the thing on the assist too. Maybe he's just bigger and getting to angles that Miami can't defend. Should we be playing Murray assists? Because I didn't really see it, but the numbers are really strong here.
Let me look this up real quick because I think it's a really interesting question of how this goes, because this is something that we've talked about a lot in Nuggets media of Jamal's passing stats, which Jamal's become much more of a floor general, and he's done a really, really, really good job. Like he has done genuinely a great job doing that. How many assists did he have last night? 10?
He had 10 assists on 17 potentials. And remember the 17 as I was an estimate as well, but usually pretty close.
Okay, 40% of those are to Nikola Jokic. Of those assists. That's how many.
So 4 of the 10, yeah.
4 of the 10 go to Nikola Jokic. That's honestly low, and they're still going to run a ton of this 2-man game at him. Like this is one of the reasons why Jamal will have like high assist games when he doesn't feel like he's actually like managing the game very much, is because they're just spamming pick and roll, and it's just bounce past Nikola floater, bounce past Nikola turnaround. Yeah. Like he's getting a lot of credit on those assists. So I would tell you like that's not going away. Like the Heat they don't have an answer for the 2-man game. They tried everything in game 1. They switched it. They played zone. They did this. They did that. Nope. You can't. This is the best 2-man game in the NBA right now. There is no better combo of 2 players working off of each other than Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. It is the best 2-man game in the NBA. So that's honestly, you can get 5 with just Nikola and Jamal. Just Jamal passing to Nikola can generate 5 assists in this game. So I would tell you that, like, yeah, I do like the over on assists there.
Okay.
One final one I want to throw out there because I forgot to mention this one. I'm on Gabe Vincent over 16.5 points and assists. This is a really great series for Gabe Vincent. I like this from the beginning. The Nuggets are going to dare him. Like you can't play at the level on everything. You're going to be running off too much. They're playing a little bit drop versus Gabe Vincent. He'll take those shots off of the bounce and he'll hit them. He will find spot up threes, and he actually made some really high level passes out of the double coverage. He made a beautiful pass to Max Strus. It's on my Twitter at HP Basketball, a laser to Strus. He missed it because Max couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat last night. But in general, like Vincent's making the reads. He's a high level player for this matchup. I don't like the matchup for the Heat in the series, but Vincent among the guys is like Vincent and Bam are the 2 guys I like the most in this matchup. And guess what? They both had really good game 1s. Those are going to be there in game 2. Jimmy's going to take some of those opportunities away, But when we look at like the overall context of the game and how many opportunities he's going to have, like, Gabe Vincent in game one had finished this game with 19 points and 5 assists. We're talking about 24 versus a 16.5 line. Like, there's room for better assists if Strus can hit some threes, even if Gabe doesn't get as many shots up. And I think Gabe will still get shots. I like over Gabe Vincent 16.5 points and assists.
Yeah, the number I like most about Vincent, other than obviously 5 threes in game one, is 38 minutes. That really surprised me checking it out. I mentioned Strus only 21. Gabe Vincent did not get played off the court because he's a really good defender. Like when he was out the one game last series, that was a big thing that happened, is his defense was missing. I think he belongs out there. I think you're right. So just the volume that he's going to have and the chances he'll get, I don't mind that one too much. I want to ask again on the Herro thing. Even if it doesn't happen in game 2, where do Herro's minutes come from? Well, let's say at some point in this series, he starts getting 25 minutes a game. Who are the 25 minutes coming away from? Are they coming, because it ties to your Vincent one here, do any of those 38 minutes theoretically go to Herro, or is it coming from Strus? Is it coming from Highsmith or from Caleb Martin? Where are they going to hit? Because there's probably an angle we can play on a series bet or something accordingly.
So this is one where I kind of got to think through it. The talk from Heat fans has been that Caleb, Strus, and Duncan will lose minutes when Herro comes back, because it's effectively you're taking away. Oh, like Herro is more built as a wing shooter that plays more on ball. I actually don't expect Gabe to lose a lot of minutes when Herro comes back, even with Herro being a primary ball handler, because Gabe can play next to him and they'll just play Jimmy bigger. That meshes with the second half adjustment after Aaron Gordon stuffed Caleb Martin and Max Strus into a trash can and hit it with a baseball bat. They put Jimmy Butler on Aaron Gordon full time, because they were just like, we just gotta put size on him. We can't do anything else. Which, by the way, that sucks for them, because now you don't have Jimmy to try and deter and wear down Jamal Murray.
Yeah, the Heat will be great this series, as long as Jimmy Butler just guards Aaron Gordon and also defends Jamal Murray and also attacks the basket and also scores 30. They'll be fine.
Same thing with Bam.
All those things.
If Bam can anchor the second unit and be the primary scorer and take the most shots and have the most rebounds and defend the best player on the planet, who has him beat by about 55 pounds, should be easy work for Bam Adebayo. I think that's what happens. You may get to a situation where you're like, you can't have Gabe and Herro and Jimmy at power forward at 6'7", and then like one of those other dudes, even Highsmith, like even Highsmith, we can't get there.
I feel like Herro feels like the smallest of these dudes too. Like if we saw the size advantage before, I worry that he could just get really hunted defensively the moment he steps out there.
I think part of this may be, and Spo just tends to do this. Like Spo's not going to be like Spo tried Zeller last night. He tried it, and it got destroyed. Right?
Did not go well.
They may have to just be like, we just have to, like, we don't have any option. Our bigs aren't good enough. We just got to go small. Like we just have to go, even if we're just getting killed,
I think so.
We just have to have more offense.
Yeah, I think go small and go offense. I think it's like, well, if we can't really stop him on defense anyway, we may as well get Kevin Love shooting out there and Tyler Herro's shooting. Like we're just gonna have to try to outscore him. And good luck to us on that, but it's not really working the other way anyway. So we may as well go for it.
On the series, the prices have appropriately shifted after a game 1 win. That's going to happen, and a double-digit game 1 win. Both of those things wind up impacting how these series are kind of looked at. Series price now at FanDuel, Heat plus 2.5 is plus 106. This annoys me, Brandon. I understand that it's like, well, they did win and it's the certainty. I understand it. It's just like, this is what I wanted pre-series. I wanted a plus number on Heat plus 2.5 and a small minus number on Nuggets minus 1.5. And that's what I wanted to bet. But I don't want to take it. But like, the Nuggets were 9-point favorites in game 1, and I still was having to pay a minus number on the plus 2.5. They did exactly what was expected, and now it's a plus 106. It's really annoying.
But why don't you want it? Why don't you just bet that right now? If that's the bet that you wanted, to me, Denver, I don't think the series price should have barely shifted at all. Denver just won the game they were most certain to win in the series, in my opinion. we found out very little from a serious standpoint.
I think one of the reasons that the more I got into it, like I went from like, yeah, Heat and I went from like Nuggets and 6 to like Nuggets and 5 to like, I'm not going to bet it, but boy, that sweep number looks good. Like, I think everyone kind of agrees, like nobody wants, the only one guy I know picked a sweep, Harrison Wind over DMVR. Nobody wants to pick a sweep because it just feels so insulting to what the Heat have accomplished. Like, you just don't want to do that. This is something I really struggle with as a media guy. There's a lot of things I struggle with as a media guy, but like one of the things I struggle with is you want to give credit because you watch this sport and you understand how good these guys are. And I'm in that locker room and I'm talking to these guys. So I understand, like I know how good they are. And like, I do know how tough it was to beat the Bucks. I do know how tough it was to beat the Celtics. I do know that they had to beat the Knicks. So they had to spend their time there. Like, I know all these things. But like from an analysis standpoint, we leaned heavily towards these shorter outcomes because of everything we saw in game 1. I don't want to bet it now. And the reason I don't want to bet it now is it does feel like it's an overreaction. Like, even if the market is overreacting to a game 1 win that we expected, right? I don't want to get involved into like trying to figure out whether I don't want to try and determine whether game 1 was indicative or not. Like, I don't want to take game 1 as like a guiding post versus the pre-series, because it's entirely possible that game 1 also fits our model that the Nuggets are going to win this thing in less than 6 games, right? Like game 1 fits that paradigm exactly. So why, even if I'm getting a plus number, I'm not getting plus 200, I'm getting plus 106. So like, I don't want to bet it. I'm just annoyed at how the market kind of developed it. What are your thoughts on overall?
Wait, so allow me to overreact for you.
Okay.
I've got 2 series bets. One's just a little prop. I'll get to that in a second. But here's my fun one. So it's a little nibble. I already played the series, the sweep on the series at plus 600 before. That obviously is long gone now. I put the sweep at about 26% right now, effectively plus 300. That's pretty close to the number you're seeing at book. So I don't see much value in it. However, there's a book offering right now Denver to win every game in the series, which obviously means a sweep, by 10 or more points. I'll play it. It's plus 2,200. Here's the math. Denver is an 8.5 or 9-point favorite for game 2. So I'm effectively betting on a cover in game 2. That's all that is. Like, I'm effectively taking a 50-50 bet in game 2, a bet that I said already that I lean in that direction. And then to me, here's where it gets interesting. Game 3 is going to be, game 3 is the classic, empty the tank, down 2-0, coming home, all of that. If we get there, assuming like if my bet's still alive, down 0-2, it's in Miami. The chance of Denver winning that one by double digits, I admit, is not high. I gave it 20% on my model. Maybe that's even still a little high, but I like Denver a lot in the series. If they do that, and Denver has now won all 3 games by double digits, I'm sorry. I know Heat culture and I know all the stuff. You're just beat at that point. You're done. Like, you understand what is happening to you. There's no more, like, I'm not saying you quit, but that the line is going to be something like what do we think if Denver wins game 2? What's your guess at a game 3 line in Miami? Are the Heat favored?
No, they're not.
So Denver by like a point or 2.
Heat were Celtics were -3. I think with the upgrade, we're at the same number. I think the Nuggets have been upgraded to the level of the Celtics. So I think it's Nuggets -3 in Miami. That's a 6-point move on home court.
Okay. So if Denver wins that game by double digits, or my bet is dead, Denver wins convincingly in Miami in game 3, that line's got to go to like Denver -7 or something, right? Like, they have to juice it a bunch more. So now I'm betting on a Denver cover in game 2, an outlier game 3 example. But once that happens, I'm going to have a hedge basically on a cover for Miami in game 4 if I need to. I feel like if I can get the game 3 outlier outcome, and I like Denver enough to give them credit for it, then I feel like game 4, I probably have a better than a coin flip chance in my favor there. So to me, here's the pricing. I'm giving this about a 6 or 7% chance. Plus 2,200 gives me a 4.3% implied. So this is one where Jim Turvey and I tell you, if we just keep doing it enough times, we'll come out ahead at the end of the day. We're probably going to lose, but we'll come out ahead if we keep doing it. So if you think Like the pricing implies 45% effectively in this game, 20% game 2, 50-50 in game 3. I'm a little higher on all three of those numbers. So 22-1, I think is too long. It's my way of playing a sweep where Denver is just that good and Jokic is just that good. Let me do real quick the other prop that I have. It's just a math prop. Jimmy Butler to hit at least 1 3 in every game. It's plus 450. I just saw that. I was not hunting for this. This is just me scrolling all the menus and all the books, looking at the prices. Plus 450 seems too long, in part because, again, you and I are expecting a short series. He already hit one the first game. I think there's a chance he only has to hit 3 more threes for this to hit at plus 450. 1 in game 2, 1 in 3, and 1 in 4. Here's the easy math on it. If it's a sweep, he's a 33% shooter. So just consider 1 in 3. He only took 2 shots in game 1. He made one of them, 2 threes. If it's a sweep, we need this to be at least 2 attempts per game. That implies 17%, which is basically the math we're getting. All we need is 2 attempts per game in a sweep for this to at least come out even in our favor. If it goes 3 attempts per game, then we can get up to 6 games. We're still the math in our favor. Outside of the Knicks series, he's averaging 4 threes a game this postseason. So the math just is in our favor. He's hit at least 1 in over half of the postseason games. Plus 450. It's a math play for me. It's also a play on, I just still don't think Butler can be aggressive enough attacking. And I think he settles and takes a shot that Denver is going to be like, yep, go for it, Jimmy. Show us you can hit Brandon's bet. I'd like to see you try it. So Butler at least 1 3 every game, plus 450. Let's hope for a short series on it.
I think Denver wins the series. I love how Denver wins the series pre-series. We bet it on that. I will say, like, I am still gonna be like a little reticent to you have always been ready the last 2 years to go against Miami. I am always a little bit more like I have appropriate fear.
Hey, all right. I'm gonna push back here. I picked the Heat to beat the Knicks in this series. You took New York. Yeah. I picked the Heat plus 2.5, 1.5, and minus 1.5 against Boston. You stopped at 2.5. I gave Miami more credit in each of the last 2 series than you.
That's true.
I'm ready to bury them. I'm ready to be done. I'll own that. But give me some credit for giving the Heat some credit too. I just think this is the wrong matchup.
I don't know what I was thinking in that Knicks series. Like that's when I go back and I'm just like, what was I doing? Like the minute that you were like, it's Tom Thibodeau versus Eric Spoelstra, I was like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? All right, let's go wrap it up for Buckets. Thanks for joining us. Got lots of bets for you. We will be back after game 2. We will record that on Monday before I head to Miami for game 3. Make sure to check out all the great stuff on the Action Network and the Action Network app. There are editions of Action Island where we vote on various props. So make sure to check that out with Chris Raybon and Sean Little. WNBA episodes coming this week the next week as well. Make sure to check all that stuff out. Brandon and I both have articles up in the app and on the web. Go to actionnetwork.com. Thanks to David Payne, our producer. We'll see you guys again next time. Thanks for joining us. Till then, let's get buckets.